Breaking news, Mat Ishbia has purchased the Coyotes. What's next?
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. I'm your host, Robyn Leonio. That's Matthew Jacobson right beside me. I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube and the SiriusXM radio app. Today, we are picturing a scenario. What happens? What happens after Mat Ishbia buys the Arizona Coyotes?
Yep, and legal disclaimer that was
it's not actually
setting. I was merely setting the stage for this hypothetical that we teed up yesterday, because it's not actually happened yet. But one last order of business. I thought I was Matt Jack Boson, so we'll have to figure it out. Well, we'll have to get the formalities out of the way. But that's what we're going with here, because we had that nice little teaser tweet. Yesterday's episode was all about, could this be a possibility? Actually, that's the route they're going to go. We broke down a couple of reasons as to why it could be the case and what it might look like. And it all goes back to Ishbia. Well, there is technically an option for them. You could try to build a second arena. I don't know how well that works. Probably not. But downtown, Ishbia. So he buys the team. The sale is official. Coyotes fans are rejoicing. Team staying here. A lot of cries are happening throughout the National Hockey League, but that's fine. You get to watch Matthew Tkachuk lift the Stanley Cup. You guys will be over it pretty quickly. What is the next step? And the next step has to be, realistically speaking, they have to find a construction timeline. And just to set expectations properly, this upcoming season is season 2 of 3 years at Mullet Arena. The Coyotes are locked into with the 4th-year option. This is going to heavily depend on the construction timeline, because Ishbia has enough money to where theoretically the Coyotes could play at Mullet for 5 years and he'd be able to eat the losses. That's not the issue. The issue is the patience with other owners and whatnot.
Right.
It was just supposed to be temporary. You don't want to extend it any more than you already have to. The 4th-year option is kind of already unacceptable. All right.
It is a cushion. That 4th-year option is a cushion if there is the necessity of hey, we just need a few extra months or whatever, because the construction timeline just kind of bumped a little bit, and it's not quite ready to move in.
Yep. But then again, they could just go never mind. I'm not allowed to comment that. But so the construction timeline matters a lot, and what it would need to do, because this cannot affect the Suns. The Suns are the moneymaker. The Suns, the last couple of years, have been championship contenders. They've been playoff contenders. Next year is a huge year for them. The sale goes through today. The Suns cannot be affected, meaning construction cannot start until, at the very least, the Suns are out of the playoffs. It is currently early June, and the NBA Finals is kicking off, meaning if the same exact timeline, it would start if the Suns are in the finals, the construction would start June 12th-ish of 2024 would be kind of the latest, and the earliest would be if the Suns miss the playoffs. It's happening in what is that? Their season ends the second week of April, so you're starting April 20th, April 18th, something like that. So you realistically, you could break it up a little weird. All right, if you absolutely had to, if it takes X amount of time within the bowl to kind of retrofit it for hockey, X amount of time to put that ice plant in, or I think they tore out most of the ice plants, so it's a bare bones operation to get it an NHL standard, essentially brand new ice plant. You could theoretically have the first summer be the construction within the arena, have the Coyotes play a 3rd year at Mullet, and then after that year do the ice plant, or you can have the ice plant being constructed because it would technically be out of the way a little bit during the season. You could do that. It would depend on the timelines.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as short as like 3 months. It could be as long as like technically a year, like how it's broken up. It all depends on what the timeline would be, and it's not allowed to impact the Suns. Like that's not happening. So
yeah, that's the biggest priority. Do not impact the Suns.
like, if it touches the Suns at all, Ishbia is not doing it. Let's just the conversation like stops with and the Suns aren't going to have a place to play for a season. No, ain't happening.
It's unacceptable. It cannot be. That cannot be an option.
Mm-hmm. So let's say it's 6 months. I genuinely feel like, and I have very limited construction knowledge. I did electrical, I've done concrete, I've done certain, but like not like renovations to buildings. Let's just say the retrofitting is a lot more simple than we think. It just costs money plus the ice plant. Let's say you can get it done in 6 months. Ishbia then buys out the last year of the contract because contracts can be bought out, especially if there's only a year left. We literally are constantly talking about like contracts being sent to the Coyotes, guys get bought out here or there. Like it's a common thing. It can be done. And the Coyotes are in the Footprint Center for what would that be? The 2024-25 season. And you're going to have the obstructed seats. And we'll get a little bit into the rumor of a new building on the other half of the ad break, but we're just going to stick with they're playing in Footprint Center. That means they'd have, about 12,000 seats or about 11,000 seats with another 4,000 obstructed because it's a retrofit. It's still not going to be like perfect. And on the entire, is it the south end of that building? You literally overhangs over the goal. If you're sitting back there, you can't see the goal. That will still be a problem because it's a basketball building. It was built from the ground up for basketball. You're not, if you think you're going to get Desert Diamond Arena, where it can accommodate both, but it's designed for hockey, all these great sight lines, whatever, and the main obstructed seats are way up in the top, you're mistaken. They're not doing that. Would be like a 3 or 4 year project, and where are you going to build? That opens up all the cans of worms of stuff we're talking about now for the Coyotes, but for two teams, that's not a good deal. Ishbia is not touching that with a 10-foot pole. It's just not happening. So we're going to have to just deal with some obstructed seats. And you know what? Because I was saying it in a Coyotes group chat. I'm like, we're playing in front of 4,600 right now. Going to Footprint immediately gives you at least 10K plus. 10K plus is better than 4,600. And they're like, you cannot argue against that.
That is a lot easier for the NHL Board of Governors and NHL owners to swallow, because they already do not like the idea of a 4,600 seat venue, and so they're like, you know what, we don't like this idea, but as long as it's temporary, we'll kind of look the other way, but we'll kind of look the other way with that like disgusted side eye. We're just like,
oh my god, the bombastic side eye. Why are you memeing? My wife made a talk tick for my dog, but she gave the bombastic side eye. You can't just bring that up to me. Whatever. You know what? We'll continue this discussion on the other half of the ad break. We got to get our bills paid. We got to tell you about Game Time because you need to get some tickets. So buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is a fast, easy way to buy tickets to all sports, music, comedy, and theaters near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. I do know that apparently Disturbed's coming back, and they're coming back in the very near future. I'm gonna have to look at the Game Time app just to see if I can snag a couple of Disturbed tickets and go Waka Kaka all night. But anyway, forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets to football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more, including hockey. The Game Time guarantee means that you'll always have the best price. You find tickets in the same section of the same row for less. Game Time will credit you 110% the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account to redeem LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
So let's continue because, yeah, you're right. So that's kind of go back to the idea that it's going to be a retrofit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be it's still not ideal, but it's better. It is miles better than what the situation that we have now. What happens after that?
So let's say that 6-month construction, it can get done in one summer, or at least the retrofit's done. Then they got to the ice plant. The Coyotes are playing 2 more years at Muller, or the one full more year, whatever how you want to do it. They're at the Footprint Center. You already have the stability. There's more room for profit because Mat Ishbia owns the team, so you have access to all that revenue. Right there, the tickets, you're not going to see $5 tickets again, all right? But you will still see some discounted tickets in the areas where the sightlines are bad. But you're still going to be able to fit more people in the building. You're going to have more corporate sponsors, the same owner for the Suns having the Coyotes. There will be more eyeballs and more money coming in. You are immediately back to where you can be profitable because they didn't turn a profit in Phoenix the first time, but there was a lot of reasons, including being a tenant and the bad sightlines, so selling some tickets for as low as $5. But with Ishbia buying the team, that's no longer a concern. And theoretically, they can turn their first profit as an organization as soon as they move in. Doesn't mean they will. There's still going to be some stretches and some growing pains, and it's still not ideal. But it can happen, and the team can have that stability. Because Morello has the money, but no building. And if you don't have the building, it's not going to get done. If Ishbia has the money and the building, there you go. But now let's explore that rumor. We've touched on it before, but now they have their they're here. We're good. We're great. But Ishbia has bigger ambitions. Ishbia is eyeing a new building, and that has always just been a rumor. We've never presented this as a fact. We've never presented this as it's going to happen. We're hearing this, from the mayor or from Craig Morgan or whoever. This is just a rumor that's been going around kind of the ether. He wants a new building. There is land you could pay for, demolish and build in the same district. We're just going to use the D-backs example. We're just going to say the D-backs go Salt River, and that's been in the works for years, and it finally gets finalized. So right there, or if the D-backs don't leave, you can go across the street. Coyotes have their stability. Ishbia starts working on the finalization for let's acquire this land, let's get this new building, and it would be built to accommodate basketball and hockey, and you can put more seats in there, which would also increase your potential revenues, especially for the Phoenix Suns, because the Phoenix Suns are going to make the most money. They've been here the longest. Yep. They are the backbone of Arizona sports. Exactly. Really, to me, it's Suns and Rattlers fans that are the most loyal and the best fans in this market, just straight up. And I love Coyotes fans, but you're not there. Sorry.
I mean, the Rattlers have been around since
92?
94, I want to say.
It's been forever. I wasn't even born yet when they expanded in. That's how long ago. But that sounds like the logical next step to me. Because the problem is with the Coyotes going back to downtown Phoenix, you get more walk-up traffic. You'll have the hype of stability. The first couple of years of that excitement, the core at that point will be ready to start competing for the playoffs. Because next year's going to be better. The year after, probably better than that. An owner like Ishbia, look, if Ishbia buys the Coyotes, that is probably the biggest blessing you can hope for. Because 100%. You're telling me right now he wouldn't want – he essentially forced the Kevin Durant trade. You're telling me if he buys the Coyotes today, as soon as Austin Matthews is available, he's not saying, hey, Austin, what's your price? You're telling me he's not opening the checkbook for a 7-year contract? You're telling me he wouldn't do that. He got KD, literally decimated our bench depth for Kevin Durant, and he got KD in a Suns uniform. He gets stuff done. So you're going to have a lot of hype, a lot of excitement. There will be a big free agent splash within the first year or a big trade of him taking ownership, which will give you more excitement, more hype. Hopefully it's all, working side by side with Bill Armstrong, so it's not something that would ruin team chemistry, but we can get to that in another day. All right. But you can't tell me the appeal of having a bigger arena doesn't sound like something they'd want to do. You can't tell me that rumor has nothing to it, and he's just content with Footprint Center exclusively. You can't tell me that there is no possibility.
because Footprint Center, regardless of the renovations you put in it, it's still an old venue, right? There's only so much you can do with an old venue. Like the overall infrastructure just will age over time. There's a reason why, like, I think before the Seattle Kraken moved into Climate Pledge Arena, what was then called Key Arena. Yeah, what was
it
it
was
called?
called Key, wasn't it?
Key. Yeah, just Key Arena. With that arena had to go through extensive renovations
It was
to even be
rebuilt.
Yeah, like a borderline full from the ground up rebuild to be able to accommodate a team like the Seattle Kraken. So, and now we're talking a team, a situation here. Mat Ishbia knows that there is an expiration date for Footprint Center. Got to take care of that. Got to figure out the next move. He's got the money, and I'm pretty sure that, now that they're already in Phoenix, find that next spot. Whether it is, hey, whatever happens to the, like you said, whatever happens with Chase Field and with the Arizona Diamondbacks, if they move to, let's say, that Arizona Boardwalk location we talked about earlier this week, or Talking Stick, or whatever. And then the convention center spot. You have space to build, and you can figure out where from there how it's going to work. And you're right. Focus on making it for the Suns, but have it as a big enough arena so it's expandable, so you can make it like the perfect size basketball arena, but also you can retract some of the seats, but to make it also fit hockey perfectly. You got to let's look at it this way. T-Mobile Arena. Have you ever been in? I'm pretty sure you've been inside that arena.
I've been outside of it.
You've been outside.
I drove to sit outside of it.
So I've never been to T-Mobile Arena as in a hockey capacity. Full disclosure, I've never been there for a Golden Knights game or any other hockey event. I went there for a basketball tournament, the Pac-12 basketball tournament, all throughout my college years, at the exception of my freshman year. So I went there. That is it almost feels like it fits basketball perfectly, but it was made for hockey. So what's to say that Mat Ishbia can't do a similar thing of making a new venue, new arena that can perfectly create a coexistence with the Arizona Coyotes and the Phoenix Suns?
Literally what I was wanting to talk about, because for the job fair at Desert Diamond Arena, before I was filling out an application to go work there, and anyone that was at the job fair could have peeked over and saw it. They had their basketball court out. It fits very well. And yes, that south end has been retracted because we've had a lot of concerts. Like that probably is going to stay retracted for as long as you're having a bunch of concerts there. But theoretically, you could still have a lot of that retractable seating come out for basketball at that arena. You could take certain elements of that arena. The sight lines are possible. The bowl space is possible. I think an ice sheet is actually bigger than a basketball court. Don't quote me on that, because that's why the Suns there's rows in the front, had to get pulled back and retracted to retrofit hockey. If you build it with hockey and basketball in mind, you can literally avoid that issue. And technically, you can try to build a little bigger to help kind of accommodate the sidelines and everything for basketball. However you want to do it. I'm not an expert. I just know that it can be done because I've seen it with my own two eyes. The people that actually know how this is done, you're probably lighting up right now like, yes, exactly. Like, that it can be done, but you guys actually know the details. I don't. I'm just a little podcaster doing my little podcast. But
look, Madison Square Garden has done it for so long,
and it looks like a great fit. Like it almost looks like it fits perfectly for both, and it's all in harmony. So it's like it can be done, and as long as you have the footprint that is big enough to do it. So that's why I use the convention center as an example. It's literally still right there. You could do it. It can get done, and the sightlines would be great. Now, we do want to touch on the Rattlers and Mercury because we do have it right there on the notes. Any construction of footprint to allow the Coyotes to build there, because even if Ishbia wants that new arena and wants the Coyotes, you have to move the Coyotes in first, which is still going to require renovations. One number I heard was around $200 million, but that was like an out of context number from someone that wasn't even like an official source. Don't quote that.
It was just like a probably like one of those things like, hey, what do you think? I don't know, 200 million kind of thing.
How much can it possibly cost anyway? But the Rattlers and Mercury would have to be displaced. The Mercury play in the offseason for the Suns, as do the Rattlers. And the Rattlers at one point in 2020, when they were doing these renovations, they were locked in for 2 years at Desert Diamond Arena, then called Gila River Arena. The Mercury, apparently Glendale Arena also wanted them, but the one thing I heard that's totally offhand was that the Mercury said no thanks, we're going to stay in Phoenix. They were playing at, I think, the Madhouse for that 1 year.
Yeah.
But it would require them to be displaced for any of this. And for Mercury fans and Rattlers fans, it's got to be annoying. All right, that be blunt. That has to be annoying to where like anytime something happens with the big boys, quote unquote, y'all got to take a sideline. I think I speak for all of Arizona sports. We can deal with that as long as the Coyotes and Suns have their nice stable arena
and
situation.
And it's in no like disrespect to the Rattlers or the Mercury, because they're both great teams. The Rattlers they're a really good indoor football team.
The only Arizona dynasty.
And they have a really good fan base. They have a really good fan base. The Phoenix Mercury, same thing. They have built up quite a lot, and they're a really good WNBA team and have a really good fan base, despite what WNBA critics believe what will make you believe.
Can I add some context on that, just to help pull your point home? A lot of WNBA teams in recent years have essentially been kicked out of their arenas for smaller venues. The Mercury are still playing at the Footprint Center, kind of like how the Rattlers are still playing at the Footprint Center. A lot of other indoor football league teams play in smaller venues. The Nighthawks, they play where the Henderson Silver Knights play. I think the Aces play underneath one of the casinos, but don't quote me on that. They play,
I believe, in Mandalay Bay, at Mandalay Bay Event Center.
So it's like, but literally, these two franchises are big enough to justify the Big Boys Arena.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, it will be a temporary displacement, 100%. But I feel like if you are a fan of Arizona sports in general, like you'll be okay with that, especially because like it's not like they're leaving Arizona. You'll still be able to buy tickets. You'll still be able to go to their games. You'll still be like the teams will still be making money because they still have a loyal fan base.
Yeah, 100%. And the fact that those teams literally are the winningest franchises. All right, literally 3 championships for the Mercury. The only dynasty in Arizona sports history belongs to the Rattlers. I believe it's 2012, 2013, and 2014, as well as 6 total championships, including their first year transitioning from the AFL to the IFL.
I choose not to talk about their Arena Bowl championships, but
literally, they got those are all of our championships minus the D-backs. So like they have prestige. They can justify playing in the Big Boys Arena. Sucks to suck. They would have to be displaced for it. If the Coyotes leave, here's the thing: if the Coyotes left, you're no longer in the 4 major sports. And as I will always support the Mercury, Rattlers, Cardinals, D-backs, Suns. Like these are my Arizona sports teams. I will support them. They are not going to prop up nationally to keep us as a big sports town. The Coyotes kind of had to take some degree of priority in order to maintain. We're a 4 sports town. Like that's what makes you a sports city. I forget who said it. I think it might have been on just I know you don't like me saying it, but PHNX, I think it was on their show. I just forget what. So I think that's what it was. But we're a 4 sports city. You lose one of the 4 major sports, you're a town. You're literally second rate on the sports plateau.
Yeah, because that is what makes the prestige of a city, is to have all 4 of the major sports leagues teams. And then if you can add the additional of, let's say, a women's team plus like indoor football plus I'm blanking on a couple.
We have
others.
the Rising. We have a women's
Plus,
soccer team coming to
no,
the market.
I was gonna say the Rising are great, but I'm just like, let's say like you add an MLS team or whatever. Like
I would love that.
That's an additional like bonus if you have all that plus like an MLS team and whatever. There are very few cities that can claim to have 5 or 6, but 4 is the necessity to go, like you said, to go from town to city.
Mm-hmm. And also, like I said, I wanted to credit that butchering of that quote, but that's literally like I agree with the sentiment that was said on that show because it's literally what it is. And like Arizona, like Phoenix, really shouldn't be a small market. And for basketball, we're not. For baseball, if we're winning, we're not. But we're a small market for baseball.
I mean, you just look at the size of the valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, right?
4.7 million.
Oh, more than that. I think it's like 5 something now.
It's ridiculous. We're the 5th largest city in the country.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And here's the thing: it's still getting bigger because so many people are coming to the state. So many people are coming to Maricopa County. Maricopa County, the fastest growing county in the entire United States. Why? Because so many people are moving here. Where are most of the people coming from? California. Yes. I had to kind of put that to the side. And I say that as a California transplant, so it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I came here for college and then I stayed. So it's different. It's different.
And look, as long as you're not, and I will take shots here, as long as you're not, oh man, California's too expensive, but go Dodgers, go Lakers, the teams here suck. As long as you're not saying that, I'm fine.
No, I would never.
Okay.
Also, if anyone knows me, I would never cheer for any LA teams.
There we go. Our mutual hatred for LA. I knew this partnership was going to work.
Anyways, any final thoughts before we close things off on this episode?
Yeah, buy the team, please. Matt, buddy, Matt, pal, Matty, bro. Buy my hockey team. Or else I'll cry. That's my ultimatum. I will cry like a baby. So please, buy my hockey team.
I have a feeling that if if the Coyotes end up, if he doesn't and the Coyotes end up having the move, I think we need just like a get together of all the of all our Coyotes fans and just have a big crying session.
Nah, if the Coyotes leave, literally no one will ever see me again. That's not a threat of bad things. It's just like you'll never see my face around sports again because literally if the Coyotes are gone, I love the Rattlers. I can't love sports without the Coyotes. Like I can't. Maybe I can learn to, but I can't.
Hockey props my life up, so I feel that 100%.
What am I gonna do? Go play professional card games? Like I got a bunch of Dragon Ball decks over here, but like I'm not any good at card games. I suck at card games. I suck at hockey too, but I like hockey.
I feel that we need to get you out on the ice soon.
We do. I have all my pads in my car. Well, skates, the gloves. I think I'm missing like knee pads or whatever. But like, I got hand-me-down hockey stuff from my mother-in-law, and they fit me. So there you go.
There we go. Anyways, though, it's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review. Like, comment, subscribe if you've yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube and the SiriusXM radio app. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leonio. Matthew Jacobson is at the Easy Sports Guy. Interact with us, ask a question you might have, we might answer right back, or in a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.